Welcome back to the Lingua Loom. Today we're going to start another episode of the Language of Linguistics series. Now, this is one of the most important topics if we want to continue further. This is the linguistic sign. So, every word you speak is a sign, but what exactly does something make a sign? How does the sound tree come to mean a tall, rooted, leafy thing? And why does a complete different sound mean exactly the same thing in another language? Well, the answer lies at the very foundation of how meaning works. So, let's start there. Before starting this topic, please do like, subscribe, and share, and do comment. We would love to hear from you. So the linguistic sign unites not a thing and a name, but a concept and the sound image. The two elements are intimately united, and each recalls the other. So it is from Ferdinand de Saussure, course the Linguistic General. Okay. So let's start with the foundation, which is what is a sign? A sign in broader semiotic sense is anything that stands for something else. Like smoke stands for fire, a traffic light stands for stop. A word stands for concept. So this is our words that we're going to deal with first. The formal study of signs is called semiotics, which is from Greek semeion, which is sign in its meaning, and its insights are foundation of understanding how language creates meaning. So two scholars above all others shaped how linguistics thinks of sign. First one is Ferdinand de Saussure. He's a Swiss linguist whose posthumously published lecture became course the Linguistic General in 1916, gave linguistics its most influential model of linguistic sign. So another one simultaneously but independently, well, they say that both of them are not related. It's a different. So American philosopher Charles Sanders Peirce developed a broader tripartite theory of sign that extends well beyond language. These two frameworks together form a bedrock of semiotic theory. So this is what sign is, that is any concept that tells us about something. So that is what sign is. So whenever you're going to talk about sign, this name is what is associated with, because his work is quite a lot in sign. So Saussure's model, we're going to study that, the Dyadic model. The Dyadic sign, which consists of signifier and signified. Let's start with it. Saussure's most radical move was to insist that a linguistic sign does not unite a word with thing in a word. It unites sound and image, the mental impression of the sign, which he calls the signifiant, which is signifier, with the concept, the mental idea, which he calls a signify. This is in Swiss, which in English meant signified. So both halves of signs are psychological, not physical. So the basic thing to be said that what it is. So according to Saussure, sign cannot directly associate to real thing, real object in the world. There should be a mental concept through which they are connected. So this is the crucial point when you hear the word tree. What activates in your mind is not a specific oak tree outside the window. So this is how it works as shown here when you hear what it activates in your mind. So you do not associate it directly pointing to a tree in the real world. It first comes in your mind, which is absolutely general, abstract mental concept of treeness. The sign does not point to the world directly. So this is what makes it clear. So here it is. It points to a concept. The relationship between sign and the world is an additional step. So this is what linguistic sign is. Signifier, which is this term in that language, sound emit tree. So this is phonetic representation of tree. Unites, which is inseparable as they both make up linguistic signs, with signified, which is mental concept. These are the things to remember. The signifier represents sound or image, which is real thing, and signified is mental concept, the idea of tree in your mind. Then the relationship between the two halves of the sign is in Saussure's own word is arbitrary, which is that there is no logic between them. This is the most important principle in his entire theory, and we will examine it closely now. So let's move forward. The core principle, the arbitrariness of the sign. So Saussure's principle of arbitrariness states that there is no natural, necessary, or motivated connection between the signifier, which is sound image, and the signified, which is mental concept. The link is purely conventional, established by social agreement within a linguistic community, not by any resemblance between the sound and concept. So this is what it is. Arbitrariness is conventional in nature. It is what people come together to decide a meaning about something, which is sign. So the base example we're going to discuss. The most powerful evidence of this principle is the simplest. The same concept has the different sound image in different languages. So the concept of the large-rooted woody plant is called tree in English, arbre in French, baum in German, shajr in Arabic. So none of these sounds resemble a tree. None is more natural than the other. All are equally arbitrary conventions. So this is what this is. Say that we have come together to decide that this is going to be tree. If you look at Urdu, it's draht. So it's up to us. We decide that this thing, we point to that thing that is going to be tree. So in different languages, there are different words or terms that are used with it. So that's why it is said that it is arbitrary in nature. So here it is, one concept, the same mental idea in every language. The tree, the same concept. Let's see how it is expressed. So in English, it is tree. This is in French. This is in German, Arabic, Japanese, and Swahili. Bantu language it is. So they are all different. See, like English, it is Germanic, belonging to Germanic family, whereas German belongs to Germanic family too, but the term used here and English are different, but they both refer to tree. And then French Romance language, different, but it also refers to tree, whereas in Arabic it is Semitic language, it also means and points to tree, although the terms used is different. Where Japanese, Japonic language, Swahili, which is Bantu family, but still they all point to tree despite the different use of words. So 6 languages, 6 completely different sound images, one identical concept. None of them sound resembles a tree. This is what Saussure means by arbitrariness. The link between signifier and signified is social convention. This is a very important point, not a natural fact. So let's look at the next part, which is onomatopoeia. When sounds echoes meaning. So Saussure acknowledged that some signs appear to challenge the arbitrariness principle, which is onomatopoeia. Words whose sounds mimic what they describe. Words like hiss, buzz, crush, splash seems to have motivated connection between signifier and signified. Saussure's response was mild and important. So he argued that even onomatopoeic words are subject to linguistic convention. They are approximation of sound shaped by the phonological system of each language. The same animal sound is represented very differently across languages, which proves that even these natural words are filtered through arbitrary conventional system. This shows that onomatopoeia, like his buzz, they are not just random. They follow a proper structure of a language, so that's how they're decided. So these are some of the examples, like cow sound in English it's moo, in French it's me, in Japanese mu, in Hindi ba. Whereas this is dog sound woof or bark in English, in Spanish go, in Japanese won, in Russian ga. Then frogs are ribbit or croak, in French cow cow, in Japanese gero gero, then in German quack quack. Whereas B sound in English is buzz, French buzz, in Japanese bun bun, then in Arabic tantana. So the same physical sound, a dog barking, a cow lowing, is running different in every language. This is Saussure's point. Even onomatopoeia passes through the arbitrary phonological system of each language. No language captures the real sound directly. So onomatopoeia is motivated approximation, not natural mimicry. So the sound similar, let's discuss. Boba or kiki effect, the sounds carry meaning. Beyond onomatopoeia, there is subtler challenge to pure arbitrariness, which is sound symbolism. The idea that certain sounds may carry inherent expressive qualities. The most famous demonstration is a boba or kiki experiment, first described by Wolfgang Kuchler in 1929 and replicated extensively by Ramachandran and Hubbard in 2001. Well, quite a gap. Look at these shape. Let's look at one is called boba, another is called kiki. Which is which? So this is the experiment. These are the shape. One is called boba. Okay. That matches the research finding. In studies Kohler and Ramachandran and Hubbard, across cultures and languages, approximately 95 to 98 of participants assigned boba to a rounded shape A, and kiki to this shape. Let's click it. Yes. First, let's check this. The soft rounded mouth movement of b sound and u sound is aligned with rounded visual form. The sharp tongue movement of k and e aligns with angular one. This is the sound symbolism, a partial challenge to pure arbitrariness. So they assign this because of b and because of the edges. So this sign kiki to this shape. It is according to the experiment, not something specific. So that matches the result in finding across. So it is the same. So let's look at across numerous studies and across very different cultures and languages, approximately 95 to, so it is about as we've discussed earlier. So this is not overturned Saussure's arbitrariness principle. The vast majority of language is arbitrary, and the boba and kiki effect does not determine actual word meanings across languages, but it does demonstrate that arbitrariness exists on a spectrum. Fully arbitrary signs in one end, onomatopoeia in middle, and sound symbolism as evidence that phonological form and meaning are not entirely disconnected. While we tend to give meaning to words, how we use the sounds, like in B we say buzz. So this seems not to contradict with Saussure's arbitrariness. He said it is based on social conventions, but social conventions are also not totally random. Like if we decided to say something tree, so everything that is going to be have a bark and leaves, so it's going to be tree. Despite sometimes the color changes to red and other. So Peirce model, the Triadic sign, icon, index, and symbol. So while Saussure was developing his dyadic model in Geneva, the American philosopher Charles Sanders Peirce was building a far broader theory of sign in his collected paper, posthumously in 1931 to 58, where Saussure focuses on the internal structure of the linguistic sign. Peirce was interested in a different relationships a sign can have with it what it represents. He proposes the fundamental types, which are these three: icon, index, and symbol. Well, let's look at icon first. Okay. Icon resemble what it represents. So it is a sign which refers to the object it denotes merely by virtue or character of its own, and which it possesses just the same whether any other such object actually exists or not. So this is what Peirce said. So icon resembles or shapes property with what it stands for. This is a motivated, perceptible similarity between sign and object. Iconic signs do not require learning or social conventions because the relationship is self-evident to any perceiver. Example, a portrait of photograph visually resembles the person it depicts. So map shares property of territories, onomatopoeia, his buzz, crush sound resemble what it describes. So reduplication, repeating words shows the repetition or intensity, like many, many, very, very. So icon means that it resembles what it represents. If we're talking about maps, it is something obviously with territory marking, showing different areas. Let's look at index. Index is caused by or connected to what it represents. A sign which refers to the object it denotes by virtue or by of being really affected by the object. So these are the definitions. So an index has a real existential connection to what it stands for. It is caused by it or physically connected to it. The relationship is not one of the resemblance but actual cause and effect. So these are index. That if there is smoke, obviously there's going to be a fire. So smoke does not resemble fire. It is caused by fire. Obviously, when there is some sort of fire, the smoke is going to rise. Then Dick says, "Here, this, now, I." Points to something in an immediate context of utterance, like I want my tea here. So this shows the location, that where you want it. So proper name is connected to a specific individual by convention or naming, like George Washington, these kind of. So weather vane points in the actual direction the wind is blowing. So that shows that where the wind is blowing, as like compass shows the direction of north, east, west, south, wherever it points to. Okay, the third one is symbol. A symbol is linked by convention, purely arbitrary. The sign which refers to it, the object it denotes by virtue of a law, usually an association of general ideas. The symbol has no natural resemblance to or physical connection to what it stands for. It is established by social conventions, habits, or agreement. So this is what Saussure called arbitrariness. So example, on national flags, no resemblance to the nation, then red conventionally decided as something refers to dangerous, or if we change the situation, it can refer to love too as red flower. Then verse 3, dog love, no resemblance to their meaning. So that's how it is. That is Peirce model. This is it. Well, this is Peirce model consisting of icon, index, and symbol, whereas Saussure's model consisted of linguistic sign, which is formed by signifier and signified. Let's look at the next model, the semiotic triangle, which is Ogden and Richard's model, symbol, thought, and referent. In 1923, Ogden and Richards published the Meaning of Meaning work, introducing the semiotic triangle, also known as the triangle of reference or the semantic triangle, where Saussure kept the sign inside the mind, excluding the actual word. Ogden and Richard explicitly brought the external referent, which is the actual thing in the world, into the picture as a third element. Their model has three vertices. First one, the symbol, the word is sign, then thought or reference, the mental concept, and referent, the actual thing in the world. So that is how it is. This is their model. Thought, reference, thought or reference, mental concept. First is symbol, stands for thought or refers to referent. This shows the dotted line, which shows that there is no direct connection between them. First symbol goes to thought, then it goes to actual referent. That symbol is connected to the real world through thoughts. That is the simple meaning of it. So this is the model. So this is the line that I'm talking about, that it encodes, the dotted line encodes about the Saussure's arbitrariness, which shows that there is no direct natural connection between the word tree and the tree in the real world. The connection runs through the mental concept. This is why words can mean different things in different contexts, why meaning changes over time, and why the same object can be described by different words with different connotations. So let's look at the linearity of the sign. So Saussure identified a second fundamental principle alongside arbitrariness, which is linearity. So the signifier, being the auditory in nature, unfolds in time. It has temporal extent, and its elements are presented one after another, never simultaneously. You cannot say two sounds at the same time. You cannot say two words at the same time. Signs form a chain, not a cluster. So this is what shows that this is what it exactly is, that you cannot say two sounds at the same time. It is obviously when you're going to say apple, first a, then p, then lo, apple. So you cannot say one over another. It is going to be linear order. First a, then p, then l sound. So here it is. First one, o, no, b, r, unbreakable. So this is the example of unbreakable. You're going to first say a, no, b, r, g, a, b, l, unbreakable. Oh, what's too much? So this principle has profound consequences because signs are linear, meaning they must be built as we listen or read. It explains why word order matters in syntax. The sequence of signs in a sentence carries meaning that cannot be rearranged without consequences. It also explains why sign languages, which use three-dimensional space simultaneously, present an interesting challenge to Saussure's linearity principle. Though they remain systematic and rule-governed. So this is the first one was arbitrariness, second one is linearity, which shows that words are arranged in linear order. You cannot say one over another. They are horizontal in alignment, not vertical. Then Saussure versus Peirce, a direct comparison. Let's look at it. The structure of the sign. Dyadic, 2 parts, signifier and signified, whereas Peirce model consists of triadic, 3 parts, representamen, object, and interpretant. Then both parts of the sign, whereas psychological both exist only in the mind. In Peirce, more flexible include physical sign and world referent. Relationship to the world, where in Saussure is excluded, sign is purely internal to language system, whereas in Peirce, it is included, index and icon refer real-world connection. Types of sign in Saussure not classified as type or linguistic signs are arbitrary, where in Peirce classified as three types: icon, index, and symbol. Scope: Saussure's model is language focused, designed for linguistic signs specifically. Then Peirce universal cover all sign in sign system. Key principle in Saussure its arbitrariness, no natural link between signifier and signified, where Peirce model its sign object relation. The nature of the link determines the sign type. Legacy in linguistics, well, Saussure model is the foundation of structuralism and most linguistic theory, whereas a Peirce model is foundation of semiotics, media studies, and visual communication. So let's move forward. These are the differences. Scholarly history. So history of semiotic thought. The first one in 300 BC is Stoics. The earliest sign theory was by the Stoics. The ancient Greek Stoic philosophers distinguished between semionon, which is signifier, and semionym, which is signified, the incorporeal meaning, and the tongue the external object. This three-part model is a remarkable anticipation of both Saussure and Peirce framework, demonstrating that the question of how sign work is among the oldest in philosophy. So this is the starting point, which is way before what we are studying, 300 BC. Then John Locke in 1690, Locke named semiotics. So John Locke, in an essay concerning human understanding, proposed semiotic as the name for the doctrine of signs. One of the three main divisions of science, Locke understood science to be primarily words and idea, and his framing of science as mediating between mind and the world, directly influencing later semiotic theory. So the next one, Peirce, who built the tripartite theory. This is the era 1867 to 1914, where Peirce developed his comprehensive theory of science across the decades of work. Published in his collected work, his model, which consists of icon, index, symbol, remained the most widely used framework in semiotics beyond linguistics. Peirce saw semiotics as the master discipline underlying all human thoughts and communication, not merely language. Then comes in 1916 Saussure's The Dyadic Sign. So the published by his students, lectures, notes by Bailey and Seshahai. So Saussure's course, the Linguistic General, established the Dyadic Sign. Well, this in English means course in general linguistics. The principle of arbitrariness, the principle of linearity, and the distinguish between the language system, and the parole, the individual speech act. It is the single most influential work in the history of modern linguistics. We'll discuss lang and parole later. Then in 1923, The Meaning of Meaning Semiotic Triangle by Udgen and Richards introduced the triangle of reference, bringing the external referent explicitly into the picture and drawing a crucial dotted line to show that words connect to the world only through thought. Their work influenced semantics, literary theory, and the philosophy of language. So this is the starting from 300 BC reaching till 1923. So this is from where the data is being taken. You can just check it out. Okay, let me scroll a bit. If you want to do further reading, you can check from there. So I'll share models again one time. Okay. This is Saussure's model. Linguistic signs consists of signifier and signified. Then let's look at Triadic model. Wait a second. By Peirce. Consists of an icon, index, and symbol. Then written in Ogden's model, which consists of thought, symbol, stands for thought, and reference, which refers to referent. So here, no direct relationship between symbol and referent. So these are the linguistic sign models for today. Linguistic sign is very important to understand in linguistics, as it is not just for basic understanding. It's very important for semiotics, and as we have discussed, that phonology is in linearity, so it's important phonology too, phonetics too, then morphology too. So it is very important to even understand the basics of how signs and words are even interpreted, because the sign refers to a word. So that's it for today. I hope you understand it. Please do like, subscribe, and share. And thanks for watching. Have a good day.